Welcome to Brea Talks, an insider's look into topics that affect your experiences in the city of Brea. Whether you live, work, or play here, we are bringing you the information you need to better understand your city. So now we invite you to listen in as Brea Talks.
Hello, and thank you for listening in. I'm Aimeé Matsumoto, and today, Brea Talks City Planning. October is National Community Planning Month, so we're excited to have the planning team from the Brea Community Development Department here today. Why don't we just go around the table really quickly and everybody introduce yourselves.
Hello, Brea. It's your Community Development Director, Jason Killebrew.
Hi, my name is Joanne Huang. I'm the city planner.
Hi, I'm Jessica Newton, senior planner.
And I'm Crystal Nava, assistant planner.
Great, guys. So quickly, let's talk a little bit about the history of community planning. At what point were people like, hey, we should probably think ahead on this?
I'll take that, Amy. So there's actually a lot of debate amongst planners and some historians. So historians will say, going back to ancient empires is when there actually was, civilizations that were planned out, they were mapped out, they had a center square. But from a current planner, I was actually kind of raised as a current planner. I would suggest that zoning, the including of zoning into considerations for how cities and towns were mapped out is the genesis of it. And it generally was health related. So it basically started off as, people getting sick, whether it was from uses that were too close to high, like residential uses that were too close to high industrial or manufacturing uses, or next to ports or things of that nature, and people started getting sick or getting things like the black lung and things of that nature. So that basically, separated those uses, and so that's essentially like the beginning of zoning. And zoning is probably the main staple, and land use is the main staple of planning today.
Oh, very cool. Really cool.
So I think I have to interject here a little bit and kick out Jason because he's now a director and not an acting planner. So I think he needs to leave and leave it to us planners here, the real planners here.
Sounds good. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, Jason, for stopping by. All right. Okay, so we've heard about planning and the history at a more global level, but when did planning locally here in Southern California and specifically Brea really begin to take effect?
So I'll start off by saying that we have to understand sprawl, because that's a big theme here in California. In the 1930s, after the Great Depression, you have housing bills, right? And the National Housing Act kind of created this standard and shaped what we know as the suburbs. And these are your single-family homes with your garage and your yard, right? So a lot of people during that time, they were tired of living in crowded cities, so they started to migrate to suburbs. California at that time was such a great, ideal place. It was appealing. You had your single-family residential neighborhoods, you had a great weather, and it was just a great place to live. So as people started migrating to California, we also have to understand a little bit of public transportation history. The public transportation is a little bit different than the East Coast. At the time that California was developing, it was the car. The car was the big technology, and we are such a car-centric state that people decided to invest in car infrastructure. So now you have the ability to be mobile, miles and miles, and you are creating these homes, these communities. So which brings us to Brea. We have the oranges, the oils, and opportunities. So as people started to move closer to Orange County, they started settling in Brea because they had all these opportunities available, and that's really when it kind of started to take place.
Very interesting. Oh my gosh! So it's all encompassing, like the transportation aspect of it in California and how we can get around to and from different suburbs. So that's really interesting. So let's talk about. I guess in the beginning we hear a lot about the general plan. But what is a general plan and why is it so important?
So I can take that question. So general plan, think of it as it's like a Bible for a city. It's a blueprint for a city. It's a broad and long range policy document that helps the city staff and the elected guide the future growth in the city. So in California, cities and counties are required by state law to actually have a general plan, and it also requires cities and counties to periodically update that general plan. Our city's current general plan was adopted in 2003, and it contains a comprehensive collection of goals and policies that basically carries out the community's long-term vision for the city's future. And as required by the state law, it covers various topic areas, and as planners call it, elements. And these elements include land use, usually dealing with developments and housing units, and what type of development can go where, circulation, dealing with traffic patterns in the city, housing, conservation, open space, dealing with parks, noise, safety, environmental justice, and equality for the quality of life. So, like I said, the current general plan was adopted in 2003, and many developments and improvements and changes that people has experienced in the past 20 years is a direct correlation with this general plan goals and policies and cities carrying out those goals and policies. So this is a living document, but since it's been about 20 years, or more than 20 years since we updated the general plan, so we're actually gearing up for a focused update of the general plan coming soon. So the community will be can expect to hear more about that in the upcoming month.
Oh, wow. Interesting. That's awesome. I know one part of the general plan that's already been updated is the housing element. What is that? What's the housing element?
Yeah, so housing element has been a topic of discussion in the region and or in California in recent years. So housing element is one of the chapters of the general plan. It deals with addressing the city's housing needs and the maintenance and expansion of housing supply to accommodate the households that's already in Brea, and also those households that may live in Brea in the future. And this is the only element that the state requires cities to update every 8 years, or we call it planning cycle or housing cycle. And that cycle is the current cycle that we're in is 6th cycle, and it covers the years 2021 to 2029. And also, the housing element is the only element that requires certification from the state. So a city adopts it, it gets submitted to the state, and they have to certify it and they review it to make sure that it meets all the state requirements and laws. And if you don't have that certification, cities may face penalties and disadvantages when it comes to potential state funding opportunities or even development review and cities' local power to control those type of developments. So with other cities in the region, the city recently went through an update process, like you mentioned, and that included a really robust community engagement, even though it was through during the COVID time. And I am very proud to say that the city's updated housing element received its certification from the state in September of last year in 2022. And Brea was the 6th city in Orange County to receive that certification, which is a huge accomplishment. And now with the certified housing element, the city staff is and will continuously working on implementing programs listed in the program.
Wow, congratulations, guys. That's really awesome. Good work. You talked earlier a little bit about zoning. If people want to know more about what zoning looks like around their home or potential home if they're looking to buy, is that something that they can find on their own?
Yes, that is. So on our community development planning website, we do have our zoning map available. If you want to search by address, why zoning is important is that it is guided by general plan land use designation. This 20-year living document does set these zones, which are consistent. Examples of different zones within the city include residential, commercial, office, industrial. Also ingrained in zoning is the specific density and development standards. why this is important is that you see your traditional R1 single family zoning. You see reduced density in these zones, larger setbacks, reduced height, and in these R1 zones, you don't see these industrial properties. What's important is that we have these planned zones. Importantly, we have planned commercial office development, these mixed-use zones, and our single-family residential. And these setbacks and densities are developed and important for guiding existing as well as future development. And so if you search on our website, you can look for the appropriate zone for your property, which will have specified development standards.
Yeah, and if we're talking about residential homes and how it can impact, but also businesses, zoning really comes important when you're looking to open a business or operate a business, because the zoning code also tells you where certain businesses or certain types of uses can go into. So when you're looking at, hey, I think that shopping center may be appropriate for my business, but it may not be, depending on what that zone is. So like Jessica has mentioned, that you can go to the city's website and look up that land use chart, and you'll be able to see if you know where that property is located and what zone it is. You can compare that chart to that and see what type of businesses are permitted to go in there or need a special permit, or you just can't go in. So, and that has been formulated based on the general plan goals and policies to make sure there's not to reduce conflict with competing land uses like residential versus industrial. So you will see that residential uses are usually buffered with other less intensive non-residential zones that allows commercial uses than it will lead into industrial. So that's the typical land use patterns that you will see in cities. So that's why zoning is pretty important, and people may see it as an individual homeowners, why can't I build this structure where I want to build it? But if you think about it in the reverse, if there's no zoning, then you may see a 6-story industrial building, which is probably not going to be happening, but like that type of intensive use right next to your property. So that's how you can kind of view the use of zoning and how it kind of helps, helps formulate the land uses, but also how it kind of controls and makes sure that each type of land use is compatible with each other. So.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. That's interesting. That's really good. I think the zoning really helps with the view of Brea, right?
Yeah.
And we get that beautiful hillside of Brea, and that a lot of people love to enjoy. So the zoning really helps out with.
Yeah, and also with Brea, when mentioning hillsides, there are conservation and preservation measures where developments in hillsides has to go through more stringent review if it's possible, based on those reasons. And there's a specific regulations when it comes to how much grading you can do in hillsides and like how high you can go. So and zoning also comes into play when you are talking about preservation. So
that's really cool. I'm really glad that Brea has that implemented in the zoning and planning.
I would like to add that it's very important to reach out to planning if you have a project in mind. Before reach out to the planners. You can email us, come to the counter. If you're not 100% sure of what you're looking on the internet, just reach out to us. We'll help you out. We'll tell you yes, no, and this is how you can do it. So we're only an email away.
Oh, that's very helpful. Yeah, definitely. So is there a general email?
Yes. So we you can reach us at planner@cityofbrea.net.
Awesome.
Or you can come to the planning counter.
Very helpful. Okay, so right now is time for our lightning round. It's a little bit of fun. So for this portion of the show, I'm going to hand it over to our producer, Dan Fenstermaker, and he's going to step in and ask a few questions. So here he is.
All right. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. Ladies, good morning, I guess, as we're recording this. Fun little game. We play little games here on Brea Talks, and today will be no exception. This game is called More or Less. And we have 5 questions.
Okay.
And I asked these questions to your boss, Mr. Jason Killebrew, and he gave me his best guess. And you are going to have to choose whether the answer is more or less than his guess, or if you want to say he got it right on it, I'll give you a 10%. Either way, grace.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
All right. We're going to keep score. We're going to go around the room. We're going to take turns who answers first. And then we'll mix it up so you guys won't all go in the same order. Okay? And then Amy's over there keeping score. So good luck to all 3 of you.
Important question.
Sure.
Do we get something if we win?
Yes. Brea Talks bragging rights.
Oh.
It's a huge deal.
Fine.
The masses will know of the 3 of you.
I expect an email.
I'll take it.
Okay, let's get started. Building elevations. You deal a lot with building elevations in planning. According to ESBNYC.com, how tall is the Empire State Building in New York City? Jason said 980 feet. Is it more or less than 980 feet? Or is it right on, give or take, 10%?
Can we just say it?
Let's go Joanne first.
Oh, no. More.
More? Okay.
I'm going to go more as well.
Jessica's going more. Crystal?
I think he might have this one right.
You think he has it on?
I think because
give or take?
he would know something like this. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Counting the spire and the antenna, the building clocks in at a mighty 1,454 feet. So if you had more, you got it right.
Yes.
443 meters if you're in Canada listening to us right now.
Or rest of the world.
Yes,
I'm just
or
saying.
the rest of, yes, exactly. Okay. According to, we're going to start with Jessica on this one. According to the website bridgemasterinc.com, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway is the longest bridge in the United States and the longest bridge in the world that continuously runs over water. The causeway consists of 2 parallel bridges crossing Lake Pontchartrain in southern Louisiana. How long is the longer of the 2 bridges? Jason said 18 miles. Jessica, is it more or less than 18 miles?
It's less than.
Less than. Crystal?
Can I see a picture?
You cannot see it. Well, if the people playing at home can't see a picture, you can't see a picture.
Okay, more, greater than.
Greater than? Joanne?
About right?
About right. Okay. The answer, the longer of the 2 bridges is almost 24 miles. Wow. So Crystal actually ties it up.
Yeah.
And we have a dead heat after 2 questions. Question 3. According to the SCAG website, I believe that's the Southern California Association of Governments?
Correct.
Okay. The SCAG website, how many housing units are in Los Angeles? Jason said 2,250,000. Crystal, is Jason more, less, or right on the dot?
Right.
You think he's correct at 2,250,000. Joanne?
I think it's right.
You think he's right. Jessica?
Less than.
You think the answer is less than. You think that there are less than 2,250,000 houses?
Yes.
Final answer. Okay, she's locking it in. Los Angeles' housing stock consists of 1,373,864 total units. Score 1 for Jessica. Okay. Question 4. We're going to start with Jessica first on this one. We'll talk more about Simon Malls actually coming up after the segment. But they own the Brea Mall, and they also own the Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. According to Wikipedia, how many stores/services do the Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace have? Jason said 300. Is it more or less than 300?
Less.
Less. Okay, Joanne?
More.
More?
I'm gonna say more.
More. 160 shops.
That's it?
160 shops and services.
300 seemed like a lot.
Maybe it's in my head.
Maybe maybe for Jason it felt like 300.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's a lot.
Okay, question 5, and we'll throw this one to Crystal to start off. Let's talk about parking. This is the final question. Let's talk about
I
parking.
love it.
Parking is a huge
My
impact.
favorite.
Parking impacts are a huge deal when it comes to planning. According to Parkopedia.com, how many spaces? We're a stone's throw from Disneyland here in Brea. For those again listening around the world, how many spaces are in the 2 Disneyland parking garages? Jason said 18,000. Knowing that Jason worked at Disneyland, is it more or less, or is Jason right on it, give or take 10%?
More.
More.
Yeah.
You think it's more than 18,000? Joanne?
I think it's about right.
You think it's about right? Jessica?
More.
More. 10,000 in the Mickey and Friends, 5,500 in the Pixar and Pals, for a total of 15,500 parking spaces, and is still considered one of the largest parking structures in the world.
It is? I don't know.
It is. Well, I do we have a winner? Is it Jessica? Jessica with the win. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you for playing, Jessica. Candy bars in the mail. I don't know.
Looking forward to it.
Bragging rights.
With that, thank you for playing More or Less. Back to Amy.
Thanks so much, Dan. That was fun. And great job, ladies. That was very eye-opening for me as well. So I know in the lightning round, we talked about the Brea Mall. So I know that's one of the biggest projects just getting underway. And I want to know, why is it such a big deal?
Yeah, so I think everyone knows Brea Mall, right? And Brea Mall has been a staple in the city since the 70s when it opened. It even had an ice skating rink when it opened.
What?
I didn't know that either until recently, so I was like, that blew my mind. So obviously it went through some updates and renovations throughout the year. But recently, many standard indoor malls have been facing challenges due to changes in retail practices, especially coming out of, the pandemic, and that really boosted the online retailers and changed people's habits, right? So because of that, many of the previously planned redevelopments or developments of these standard malls have been put on hold. But Simon Properties, which is actually the largest mall operator in the U.S. and also is known very well throughout the globe because of their international presence, they decided to move forward with the redevelopment of Brea Mall. And this is very exciting because Simon had countless properties to invest in post-COVID, and we were told that they chose 2 properties, and one of them is Brea. So that I think that's telling that Brea is here to stay, and Brea Mall is here to stay. And Brea Mall is also my childhood mall. I grew up in the area, and I used to come. That was my high school, college, going through Carbon Canyon. This is my mall. So, this is very exciting. So this redevelopment project would really activate the mall. It includes demolition of the Sears building, which has been empty and vacant for several years. So that will be demolished, and it will introduce outdoor retail court with the restaurants, state of the art fitness facility, Lifetime Fitness, and also a new 380 unit apartment. So with all that coming in, and Simon's really happy to go through with that project, and I think people have been noticing the fences that's been put up, so the construction work will start soon. So we're very excited to see that that project come to fruition. So within a few years, we'll see a lot of changes.
Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what's moving into the Brea Mall. So for those out there that want to get into planning, what would be a good way to start?
I would say internships, and internships. I'm going to give a little background information on my career journey. After I graduated from UCR, I was working as in the restaurant industry, studying to become a lawyer. One day I just came into planning. I found out about planning, and I was like, I had an aha moment. And so I basically just dropped everything. I enrolled in the master's program at Cal Poly Pomona, and I did some background, some research. How do I become a planner? The first thing I found was make sure you internship. So when I started school, I also started internship. I started at Baldwin Park, then I got another one at Ontario, and then I got another one for Omnitrans. And so all that with my experience firsthand, working in the public sector with my school eventually gave me the skills and everything I needed to eventually move up to this position. So I know I was told countless of times, but I didn't understand it until I was in the position that I had to volunteer and become an intern. It will really open your eyes to different fields within planning, and it will give you the experience you need so that you could, one day sit here at this table with us.
Wow. Very impressive resume. I'm really, that's really cool.
It's been quite the journey, but I'm here and I'm very happy to be here. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. So internship is one way to go. But what about if you are retired or maybe you're happy in your current profession, but you still want to get involved in the city's planning process? What are other options there?
There is always the possibility of becoming on the planning commission. If you really want to be involved. There are, for example, we have the cultural arts master plan. We have meetings, so we do have residents who are also part of that. So any type of, groups within your own city that you want to be a part of, you could always just volunteer. And that's a great way to stay involved.
That's awesome.
Yep, and also just to tack onto that, we do have some public engagement opportunities in the coming year with the Focus General Plan update, and we have a few other plans in the works. So whenever we do reach out to the community asking for input, those are definitely great opportunities to let the city as well as project applicants know your thoughts on these development proposals.
Awesome.
And there's also the APA. They do have conferences. So, if you're not necessarily a planner, but you kind of want to stay in touch with what are the planning themes, or what cities are doing, you could always attend one of those conferences and just kind of get informed of what California or even the United States, because there's also one that covers the whole entire United States. So you could always attend those and stay informed.
Awesome. So, well, thank you again so much for being here. It really sounds like everywhere you look, all of you in planning are involved in what you see. And that's a good thing. I can't even make a plan for what flowers I'm going to put in my garden at home. So you ladies are planning this entire city. So congratulations and keep it up. That's really impressive.
Yeah, and thanks for inviting us. Honestly, I think we were just talking about how uncomfortable we are in in doing things like this, but I think it's letting the community and just the public know that you can approach planning in a very easy way and just look at, if you, like Amy said, if you look around, planning is everywhere. It kind of sounds, kind of cliche, but it is. And hopefully, we can, we're here, and hopefully we can guide and help the public to stay informed, and we're here to help. So just like Crystal said, any questions, give us a call, give us an email, and we'll give you the answers that you're looking for.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's it for this episode of Brea Talks. This episode and all episodes of Brea Talks are available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on Brea TV and Brea's YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, rate, and review. Thanks so much for listening in as Brea Talks.